Welcome to Manchester's Public Television's newest TV show called Education Matters. Public comment was shut down during the Curriculum and Instruction Committee meeting on last Tuesday, the 28th of January. And that incident is what made this show come about. Well, now we don't have to worry about 3 minutes to speak. We'll have a half an hour. Anyhow, we have this week a guest, and we're featuring Patrice Benard, a resident of Manchester, who will share with us her testimony, since she didn't get to give us her testimony during that public comment period, unfortunately. So we will hear from Erica Connors first, the clip of how and what happened at the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, of how she shut down public comment then. So whenever you're ready, John.
Parliamentary question. I noticed on here there's no public comment. Is that something, will the public be able to speak prior to a CNI meeting?
We did have
in the past.
We did have that discussion, and traditionally we have done it for curriculum and instruction, but apparently that's not what is typically done in committee meetings. So we will be discussing that, I believe, with the vice chair of the board and the mayor as well, to figure out if we are going to add that back into committee meetings or not.
So you're saying that's across the board, and tonight if people came to speak, they can't speak?
That is correct.
I completely disagree with that. I just think if that was something that we were going to start, we should have probably let the public know ahead of time.
Okay, well, there you have it. And since then, committee member Avard has let me know that the public comment period has been reinstated. Whoever authorized it to be taken out apparently has authorized it to be put back in, without a vote of the full board, as Erica inclined for it to happen. However, today we have, like I said, Patrice Benard, and she will let us know exactly what her testimony was about, and maybe a few added comments as well. So Patrice, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Deb.
This is going to be great.
I appreciate this forum because I didn't get to speak, so now I have a chance to hopefully let the Manchester Public TV viewers hear what my concerns were.
Absolutely. Well, you take it away.
Well, the agenda started with a grants and donations report. In that grants and donations report, there was a grant in the amount of $5,016 from the Aloha Foundation that will help fund a 3-day retreat in order to bring the Inspiring Kids program to Parkside, and I believe that grant should be rejected. If you would go to the website, inspiringkids.org, you would see that this program is designed to introduce school children to local nonprofits and is a curriculum that is Common Core aligned, as the Manchester School District has rejected the Common Core philosophy, and we should therefore refuse this grant and halt the implementation of this program. My concern is, in Manchester, we see a carrot dangling, we go for it. Doesn't matter what strings are attached. As we found out with the waivers, as we found out with other items, when there are strings, there are always strings attached, and maybe it's not worth the money.
And it could be a detriment down the road when we actually decide that we want or don't want certain programs, especially ones associated with Common Core.
It handicaps the district, and I don't think we should do that. The worth of a program introducing school children to local nonprofits, that's neither here nor there.
Has nothing to do with academics.
I don't really think so. We're talking about, the kids that can't read, and yet we're going to try to bring them a program like this. For $5,000, I think it should be rejected. The second grant that I had issue with was a grant in the amount of $25,000 to fund Project I Succeed, that's small I Succeed, via the 21st Century Community Learning Centers. I believe it should also be rejected because it is also Common Core philosophy. It's developed in part by Pearson and Apple, among others, partners in promoting Common Core curricula and testing. This program promotes use of technology for core education, and our district has not yet adopted the Manchester academic standards, which will guide our future curricula choices. About this, anytime we see Pearson, that's the British conglomerate that owns most of the publishing houses that are producing Common Core. They are linked to Pierce. They are linked to the Smarter Balance test that the state wants to use, which the Nashua teachers have.
In other words, a
rejected.
monopoly.
It's a monopoly. And we threw off British rule over 200 years ago. Let's not go back.
Mm-mm.
Then we get into the policies, and this is the real issue that I have. If we look at the policies, these were proposed by the superintendent as a answer to the curriculum audit that was performed last summer, which most people who have read it have said it was a Common Core audit. It was how to bring the schools in line with Common Core.
Exactly.
So they couldn't get Common Core in through the curriculum guides. And now they're proposing policies, and my fear is through these policies, by policy we will be adopting Common Core.
Yes, we are. I have a feeling.
The first, and I've got the policies here if you wanted to follow along. The first one was policy number 104.1, curriculum management. Under planned and written curriculum, all courses offered within the Manchester School District will be supported by a written curriculum that is aligned to rigorous standards stressing depth over breadth. Well, I'd like the committee to remove the above sentence as it is clearly intended to limit the amount of knowledge our children will learn on a broad range of topics. In reality, depth just means you're going to take a lot longer to teach fewer things. Are your teachers really that incompetent, or are you just looking for an easy way out? Slowing down all students is definitely not the way to keep them interested in education. Those that need extra help should definitely be getting it, but not at the expense of their classmates, who have proven their competency and should be allowed to move along. I also object to the need for a written curriculum for every subject. Let's face it, you don't need curriculum for teaching children to count. You just need to count with them every day. You don't even need a book to do that. So that was my first thing, and I think that when we're looking at this written curriculum, this is going to put into policy that we're going to have all these textbooks. And we don't need a textbook for everything. You don't need a textbook in the classroom.
We just need competent teachers.
Well, any teacher who's gone through 4 years of college, I would hope, have learned something.
What did they go to college for? What did they go to school to be a professional instructor in K through 12 or whichever.
Whichever they're certified in. My sister's a teacher.
If we have to, through professional development, reteach them. That sounds like a totalitarianism of sorts.
Well, and it's going to be very costly. We really don't need written curriculum. And the depth over breadth, maybe in an upper grade, you want to get deeper into Shakespeare, so you want to concentrate on Shakespeare for a whole month. But in the elementary schools, if you remember those curriculum guides, they were focusing on one author for an entire month. I think the primary grades are way too early to be focusing in that kind of depth. The next sentence in that policy, curriculum specialists and classroom teachers will collaborate to establish a common format for curriculum guides and vetting process that involves feedback from colleagues. So, how much money is it going to cost to hire these curriculum specialists? Shouldn't the C&I committee determine firstly the breadth and depth of curriculum guides? Shouldn't we wait to see what the Manchester academic standards look like before developing curriculum guides?
It's kind of putting the horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse, rather. Doing the curriculum and all the policies with instruction before we know what the standards are.
That was my thought. But that would be common sense, not Common Core. If our standards are well written, in clear and concise, plain English, there may be no need at all for curriculum guides. What they presented to us last summer as curriculum guides were ridiculous. My hope, and the reason I'm involved, is that I found the academic standards of the 1930s in my aunt's house when I was cleaning it out. The standards should be able to be read by the students that are meant to achieve them. If you look at the Common Core standards, there are very few adults who will understand them without a dictionary beside them.
Or professional development to elaborate how they should implement
Well,
them.
it took 2 days for our teachers, 63 staff members over at the Manchester School of Technology, for Althea Sheaf to explain the vocabulary of Common
Which
Core.
we still, by the way, folks, haven't gotten a report on those 2 days of development of whatever standards they're working on.
That was actually unpacking Common Core, not unpacking standards.
Unpacking
from-
Common Core. Now, I wonder if they're going to unpack the Massachusetts standards before they became Common Core standards.
Dr. Skotsky's standards.
Exactly.
I believe they have looked at them. I have spoken with Dave Ryan. He says he's looked at them, and there are some aspects they will try to incorporate.
We'll look forward to seeing that.
I hope. I have high hopes. Maybe pipe dreams, but they're high hopes anyways. The next sentence says, all curriculum guides shall include strategies for integrating 21st century skills as outlined by the Partnership for 21st Century Skills. My testimony to the committee would have been, have any of you actually been to the website to learn about this partnership? I have. This, again, is a Common Core aligned program promoted by Pearson, Apple, McGraw-Hill, etc., all looking to promote their programs and resources. Even Lego and Crayola have gotten into the mix.
Yes, and Elmer's glue as well. I've seen that on teachers' websites.
Yes.
Elmer's glue.
Isn't that something? They like it when schools buy their products. Have you investigated and read the bios of the directors and speakers? I have. You should do some pointing and clicking. It's called research, and this is the committee to do this type of research. Or it would have been, except I didn't get to speak. So now I'm going to have to ask the whole board of school committee to do this
And
research.
we will be there, folks, at the full board meeting on February 10th at 7 p.m. As many concerned citizens as possible should be there and join us for public comment period.
Then I would have gone on to say, I would ask you to reject anything based on the concept of 21st century skills outright. That's a new code word that they're using. They've been using it for quite a few years. I didn't have reason to look into it before. I'm looking into it now. I suppose I should have looked into it in 2010.
It's a Pandora's box.
Right.
And they've opened this box. And now the citizens, oh, wow, we need to see what's in this box, and now we need to understand what's in this box.
Right. And then my thought was, what basic foundational skills are that different in the 21st century that were not needed in the 20th, 19th, or even 18th centuries? Do we still need to have strong foundations in reading, writing, and arithmetic? Those skills do not change through time. The well-educated child will have the same foundational skills as everyone else.
It doesn't change, Patrice, and I understand that as former superintendent Dr. Brennan mentioned that he thought that the 1930s skills is what we need today. He had no problem with that.
Well, those
because they should not have changed.
No, and those skills were the skills of the greatest generation that
Absolutely.
went to war, fought a war on 3 fronts.
Absolutely.
We defeated Germany. We brought down the Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
We built an interstate highway system.
Right. And
they built the Hoover Dam. You know, we went to the moon on those skills and those standards.
Exactly. And what are we doing today? Well, that's debatable.
Well, yes, we know what they're doing today, and we've seen The Village, and we don't like it. The well-educated child will have the same foundational skills. It is what we build upon that foundation that will make Manchester a leader in this day and age. The foundations are laid up through and including the 8th grade, and really should not be much different than those foundations laid in years and centuries gone by.
That's right.
Remember, the primary grades go up through the 8th grade. And that's something that we've gotten away with in these middle school concept.
Right.
Those are still primary students.
Mm-hmm.
They still are building a foundation. It's in high school that hopefully once we've laid that foundation, they can go off and start doing some critical thinking, and they can
Analyzing and
Right. We lay the foundation in the first 8 grades. The innovators and dreamers of tomorrow will only succeed if they have a strong foundation to make their dreams a reality. If they are unable to communicate their vision properly, their dreams will never be more than pipe dreams.
Exactly. And in America, we need to dream, and we need to be exceptional, and the students need to know that the sky is the limit, and they're not going to be stuck to a form or a set of standards that dictates their life.
And when these counselors say they want to start counseling children in the primary grades, that really irritates me as a mother. I want no doors closed for my child.
Right.
Don't try to veer them in one direction. Let them explore.
Parents should be really concerned about that. when you think, well, I don't have to worry about, talking to my children about, how we're going to choose a career or a path for college or anything like that. You better be thinking about it, because the schools are going to be thinking about it in the real lower grades and start tracking them and persuading them to think about their track. And of course, the schools are already in the position, they've analyzed your child, they have all the data on your child, they know your child better than you do, apparently. So if you have aspirations as a parent for your child, and whatever that may be, whose right is it to be able to say to them, well, son, would you like to be a baker, as your father's a baker, or what would you like to do? The parents should notice also their skills and their interest in life. What do you want to be when you grow up? We often ask our children that, and some kids know really early on, I want to be a fireman, and they end up being a fireman lots of years later. But some children, they go to school. Why can't they go to school for liberal arts? Because they're not decided what they want. Why does the school have to tell them, well, you got to choose a career path?
No.
I'm sorry, folks. This is not going to end well.
No parent would do that to their child. No parent would buttonhole their child at a young age. I have a daughter who's gone from teaching to music to maybe combine the two, and we don't really know. And she's 15 years old, and she still doesn't know. But we're exploring all the options.
Absolutely. Exploration is the best.
And that's where we need the
track
breadth
to go.
of knowledge, not
right.
just
so
the
they
depth.
can understand the world around them in the largest capacity possible.
Right. The next part of that, still that first policy, is taught curriculum is the heading. And it says all teachers shall teach the written curriculum. Now, back when Dr. Avard had the coffee with the, I'm still on this page.
Okay.
Back when Dr. Avard had the coffee with the school board over at West High School, I went over, and Committeeman Connors was there, and I had passed out the timetable from the 1930s, where they taught 500 minutes of reading per week. Committeewoman Connors had remarked then that the 1930s timetable was too constrictive for teachers. And here, with this, all teachers shall teach the written curriculum, you're holding up the curriculum as the holy grail instead of the Manchester academic standards. Do we really care how the teachers achieve the standards as long as their students are reaching the standards?
They need to be made free to do that, the teachers. Right now, they're basically robots, I think. They're trying
You could have a city year kid go in there and teach from a curriculum guide. You don't need a teacher for it.
Right. Why do we need teachers to pay them how much a year?
I don't even want to talk about that.
Well, I think they're worth their due.
A good teacher, you'll give them the standards, they'll develop their own curriculum. Right. They have college degrees. Why don't we trust these highly qualified individuals to actually do their jobs? Let's focus on the standards, and the curriculum will take care of itself. Different teachers have different styles, and they know the 25 children in front of them that year, and they know what will work and won't work for these students. Stop handcuffing them with your written curriculum and let them teach to the standards, not to the test. Let's face it, here in Manchester, the mayor would like it to be one big happy family. But the school at Bakersville is not the school at Green Acres. The school at Beach Street is not the school at Smith Road. We have different children in different neighborhood schools. We like our neighborhood schools. We move
It's
to
a culture.
neighborhoods.
There's different cultures in different parts of the
Right.
city.
But
And we're going to standardize every single school to be a copycat of every other one. And the exact same thing happens here as it does there. Well, that might be a disservice for, the culture in one school from another.
I think it will be. And I think we should leave it up to the teachers. Just set the standards. They'll know how to reach it.
Exactly.
They know those children. The next bold heading was evaluated curriculum. It's on the next page. Data used for analysis will include, but will not be limited to, student growth, student achievement, and student enrollment patterns. How about we do limit that data to the 3 items mentioned? Not limited to leaves more wiggle room than any teacher or administrator should be allowed. Simply put, if we have standards that are clear, concise, written in plain English, and are measurable, testing for achievement of those standards will be simple and low cost. Therefore, student growth and achievement are all the data that's required. I really worry about leaving, but will not be limited to in that policy.
Yes, well, we know that Common Core is also having a premise to evaluate values, attitudes, and beliefs of your children and remediate them when their attitudes, values, and beliefs do not quite comply with the Common Core standards and the philosophy of Common Core. Common Core is not just a set of standards, as they tell you. Oh, it's just a set of standards. How innocuous that should be. No, it's the whole concept that is being infused into Common Core by those who have an agenda.
They do. They do. And truthfully, I don't have enough time in my day. I homeschool 3 children. I don't have enough time to go into all the Common Core. I know that Anne Marie Banfield and Cornerstone Policy Research has been doing a lot of information, sending out a lot of information on that.
Yes, and speaking of information, if you'd like more information, you may go to Stop Common Core in NH, and you will see
Is
more
that a Facebook
information.
page or a website?
That is a Facebook page. Thank you for bringing that up for those on Facebook. Stop Common Core in NH. And
Is there a
you'll have
website
more.
also that you can...
Well, I can say that New Hampshire Families for Education is also a resource. .org, New Hampshire Families for Education.org, for a wealth of information in Common Core's or standards regard as well, and also a lot of information about what's going on at the State House. You wouldn't believe what's going on at the State House. That'll be another show.
Well, I trust that other people are handling that. I just want to focus on Manchester. It's about all I can handle.
Oh, and we're mighty pleased that you have done all of this homework.
We're doing that. That was the first policy. The second policy is 104.2, student assessment. And now 104.2, they use new terms that were new to me, formative versus summative assessments. And only summative assessments will count in determining students' achievement levels and be graded.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is about assessments versus tests. Why this huge shift away from using the word test? And if an assessment is essentially the same thing, why on earth would a teacher waste their time and their class time, as well as the students' time, by giving a test that's not graded?
Well, my opinion on that is that an achievement test is measuring the academics that the child knows and understands. But assessment, from what I understand, is assessing the attitudes, values, and beliefs of students. And therefore, it's a big survey.
Right. When we grew up, we had the Stanford Achievement Test, or the Iowa Skills Test. Now, all of a sudden, we're calling everything assessment. I'm not so sure I want to assess where the student is at. I want to know if they've hit the standard.
Exactly. And the recommendation is, folks, that you opt your children out. Just refuse the assessment tests and only allow your children to take the academic tests.
Now, if we were to opt out, would we have to do that in writing? Can we do it verbally? Can we do it through an email?
I would say do it in writing. We're going to have a show on this, and
Okay.
we'll be preparing parents, in fact, to do that. This is an incredible era that we're living in, and this reformation of our education system is extremely daunting. And, you know, we just really, as parents and concerned citizens, need to keep abreast of it. And so we will bring you more information on the opt-out option.
You'll see my highlighted part of this student assessment. There's a line in there that says district staff will provide support for and monitor the taught curriculum to ensure alignment with the written and test curriculum. Let me repeat that. To ensure alignment with the written and test curriculum. This is teaching to the test.
Oh, and I guess No Child Left Behind never went away.
We have been fighting about that for No Child Left Behind. Teachers have complained. They are the national teachers, when they took that Smarter Balanced test, they're going to have to go back to their classrooms and teach their children how to take the test, not how to learn.
Exactly.
Education should be teaching children how to learn. It shouldn't be teaching them how to take a test. But my comments were actually on the district staff. So the district staff, and we don't know who they are now the Gestapo and will monitor teachers. That's great. Who are these staff and how much will this cost? And so what if a teacher wants to teach something that is not on your precious curriculum guide? Maybe there is more than one way to achieve the standard. I don't like the idea that these curriculum guides are going to become the Bible of the classroom. And I certainly don't like the fact that a classroom teacher cannot use their own education and common sense to achieve the Manchester academic standards.
No latitude for the teachers. Hamstrung.
It's terrible. I'm surprised the teachers union isn't speaking up. Where is Ben Dick?
And the other thing was that Nashua's teachers are speaking up.
They did.
We must listen to them. But Manchester's teachers are not. And my speculation on that is that Nashua's teachers are members of the AFT union, American Federation of Teachers. But Manchester's teachers are members of the NEA.
Correct.
National Education Association. So, and if you would look into the teachers' contracts, you can see there. I've seen some in some contracts, and I can't remember if it's in Manchester's. It probably is, that the teachers are only allowed to support the programs in the schools. They are not allowed to be critical.
It's a free country. I don't care what's in their contract. This is a free country.
It is a free country, and I believe that the teachers, when push comes to shove, and they know this is wrong for the students, for the classroom, for they themselves, that, especially for the students, there are teachers who are saying that Common Core and these elements associated with Common Core, that, and I hate to use the term, but it is actually child abuse. It is abusive, what is happening in the classrooms. Parents should be going into the classrooms, watching what is going on, not just one day, but several days in a row. I mean, a teacher can change the climate of her classroom for one day because the parent's watching, but that you can't change the climate of the classroom for 4 or 5 days in a row.
Now, I believe the last standard I wanted to talk about has been tabled, I think, but it may not have been. It's 104.3, Assessment of Educational Programs. This program will include both local and statewide assessment tools. The program must be aligned with the goals of the school district and be designed to assess each student's progress towards meeting the defined curriculum objectives. My problem is this program will include both local and statewide assessment tools. We're writing the Manchester academic standards. We can't use the statewide assessment. We'll write our own achievement test.
Well, the mayor was onto it. He says, we're not going to use Smarter Balance.
Yeah.
We're going to use something else that is appropriate for the Manchester academic standards. Well, here we go.
So, in conclusion, it's my opinion that these policies should not be approved by this committee. Reject them, table them, or simply receive and circular file them. Putting the cart before the horse is always a bad idea, always. Focus on researching and writing the Manchester academic standards. Once that is completed, everything else will fall into its natural place.
Oh, that's great.
So
Patrice.
that's what I tried to say.
And you know what? I'm really happy you've gotten
I thank you.
25 minutes to take what you needed to say here.
Thank you.
And we're going to be doing this weekly, folks. And when anyone has anything to say more than 3 minutes, we'll probably welcome on this show and to elaborate for our public. And we have probably half a minute left. And so next week, we will see where we go, who we have for a guest. We have someone in mind. Hopefully they will oblige. But anyhow, thank you, Patrice, for coming.
Well, thank you, and good luck to you on your new show.
And
I'll
I do
be watching.
appreciate everything that you've said today for all of us to take reckon of. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.